My nose is stuffed because I was crying so hard thinking up today's video topic. The pain I suffered beginning at 11 years old, which is when I first got my period. 11 years old. It's on the early spectrum. And it hit, and it hit every month. There was no, oh, you start slow, you work your way up. Yeah, no. It was just bad. Now remember, my mother is a recycler and a repurposer. I am all for repurposing and recycling. I do a lot of that. I won't throw away any kind of bag, any kind of napkin, or any kind of paper towel until it is shreds. Being raised by someone who lived through the Great Depression will do that to you. So when it was time for me to start using feminine products, I had an old-fashioned sanitary belt. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Went around your waist, little elastic, little belt, and some of them had a clip in the front and a clip in the back, and the sanitary pad didn't have adhesive. It had these two like long cloth things that you clipped onto the two ends. Then there was one, it was a belt you wore that could be used with those or adhesive ones, which were becoming more popular in 1975. Tampons were a no-no because my mother said only whores used tampons. And yes, she pronounced it whore. Whore. Only whores used tampons. I probably would have been too freaked out to try it anyway. But yeah, I wasn't given the option. And back then, tampons came on a stick. That was the insertion, and then you put it in and then like twisted the stick and tried to pull it out without bringing the tampon out with you. Oh yeah, things were very strange in the 70s. And I can't imagine what they were like before that. My mother and her sisters growing up, they had actual rags. So being on the rag, that expression, was because they used old rags and then washed them out to be reused again. So you would have to use dark colors, or else when you hung them to dry on the clothesline, people wouldn't see your bloody, stained rags. I get it. Things were hard. 1975, things were getting better. We had Midol. Do they still sell that product? Midol? It's specifically for period cramps. I think it's just like aspirin, or maybe it's acetaminophen. I don't know what it is. But we had some in the house. So you're wondering why I was crying so hard that my nose is now stuffed up? Because my periods were so severely painful, like unnaturally painful. Like any responsible doctor would have said, well, I don't know, let's take a look at maybe why. I was brought to my mother's OBGYN. It was a 2-doctor team. The same doctor who delivered me 11 years prior was now giving me pelvic exams, which really hurt. Those ice cold steel, the speculum. Yeah, I was not ready for that. Crying, it was miserable. Anyway, I said, Mom, please bring me to the doctor. I need help. And she did, because it was time for me to be, beginning my pelvic exams. And the same physician who delivered me said, well, it's possible you have endometriosis. But I can't give you pain medicine. Like, I can't give you painkillers. You'll get addicted. And he said it like that, nasty, accusatory. And I didn't know better. Like, oh no, I don't want to be addicted. Now, I was under 18, so she was in the room, right? I'm trying to remember. Why didn't she open her mouth and say, so then just give her 4 pills per month so she can get through those first 2 miserably painful days? What I was told by her. Well, Lisa, I had terrible periods too. I know it must run in the family. I suffered so bad. Every effing month, I would have to hear how her periods were so painful and so bad, and we had nothing but a hot water bottle. All I had was some Midol, and so sometimes I would try to take 6 of them to try to dull the pain, and it would just make me vomit because it's a lot to take in. It would sometimes cut the pain in half. 6 Midol will cut the pain in half. That's how bad my periods were. Every month, the same story. Well, Lisa, I know. I had it bad too. My periods were so painful and I had nowhere to turn and nothing I could do. Sometimes I'd take a little whiskey. I tried taking a little whiskey. It did nothing. I don't know why people think alcohol is a painkiller. It didn't help. Didn't help me. It was 2 full days of heavy cramping, so bad. The pain was down into my thighs. Like just above the butthole. I don't know what to call that. Like between the base of the spine and the butthole, whatever that's called. Yeah. Burning, hurting. And then the cramps. And I would cry, Mommy, help me, help me. Oh, I know, Lisa, I had such hard periods. 7 years of that. I endured that every month for 7 years. The dread I would feel, feeling my period come on, knowing I was in it for 2 full days of agony. And she wouldn't have a lot of mercy on me if she was like, well, we have to go here, well, we have to go there. What are you going to do, stay home in bed? That will make you feel better. It won't make me feel better, but at least I won't have to move. I would go through people's medicine cabinets looking for something, but I didn't know what painkillers were. Like I didn't know, like everybody kept their amber bottles in the medicine cabinet. Nobody hid anything back then. I didn't know what to look for unless it said for pain. And I don't remember finding any. I was so afraid of getting caught. So sometimes I would just take handfuls of their Excedrin or their aspirin, desperate to cut the pain in half. And I would cry and sob and throw up. And was it endometriosis? Was it a tilted uterus? I don't know. These idiots didn't tell me anything. Even when I was old enough to go to my own OBGYN. I don't know why your periods are so bad. Maybe, I don't know. It feels like maybe you have a tilted uterus. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? What do you do here? Well, we can't prescribe painkillers. Yeah, nobody can prescribe painkillers. What are they for then? What are they for? Mostly, it was people didn't believe it. People didn't think period pain could be that bad that it would require painkillers. I remember a friend's mother even said, "Ugh, she can't even handle getting her period." No, I couldn't handle getting my period. It was really, really painful. I remember being junior high. We were outside for some sort of gym class. Something I wasn't good at, some class that I got bullied in. And the pain was so severe. I just walked away from the field where we were doing I don't know what. And I lay in the grass with the sun beating on my belly. It cut the pain by about a third. And I think the teacher was like, do you need to go to the nurse? And I thought about it. And I thought, well, she'll just call my mother, and my mother won't do it. She'll just be mad that I called her away from whatever she was up to. Working, hustling. I can't say she was up to no good. Well, she might have been. Mostly, her side hustles, earning money. So what did I do for 7 years? Just suffered. Was just told over and over how her periods were horrible and bad. But you tell people, or they wonder why you're lying face down on the sofa at a social event or a family event. And you hear people talk about, well, they give birth control pills to people who suffer bad periods. I don't know if I suggested it to her. I have a feeling maybe if I did, she was like, well, not until you're 18, you can't do that. What are you, some sort of whore? Whore. Yes, whore. When I turned 18, I went for I don't know how often you go for pelvic exams. But I had her drive me. And I said to the doctor, and I was in there alone because I was 18. I said, I would like to go on birth control pills, please. And he did. He put me on birth control pills. Wouldn't give me painkillers to endure the periods because I'd get addicted, but, mess up my hormones, compromise my body for life. Yeah, sure. Okay. But it killed the cramps. It killed the cramps. And I was free. I was free until I hit my late 30s, and I thought, oh my God, what if I want a baby? My mother had me when she was 41, so I knew it could be done. All they did was frighten her and tell her I would be, they used the word retarded back then. Oh, she'll be retarded. You sure you don't want to abort? Yeah, no, I was not. I was a perfectly healthy, lovely baby. But yeah, I thought, wow, and the men in my life were definitely not husband or father material. But I thought, well, if God wants to give me a baby, I bet I'd make a good mother. I won't make the same mistakes she's made. Or maybe I will. Maybe it's a bad idea to have a baby. What if I repeat the patterns? But I went off the pill. Just in case. Because I had heard other people, well, you got to be off the pill for about a year and you might need hormones, blah, blah, blah. Granted, I wasn't dating anyone seriously that could have given me this baby. But I thought, well, maybe. I thought after all this time, the periods won't be bad. After all this, they were. Periods came back fast and furious. Heavy bleeding, heavy pain. But now I had a friend who used to get Vicodin prescribed for her. And she would give me a few pills when I visited her. And that's what got me through. I would take Vicodin. Someone else's Vicodin. And the panic I would feel if I couldn't see her or she couldn't give me a few pills. Of course, her husband thought I was stealing her pills, that I was some sort of pain pill addict. No, it was for my periods. I was desperate. And they were nauseating. Pain pills are nauseating for me. But it was better than the pain. Well, my friend who was giving these pills to me was fading. She was dying. She was an alcoholic who had MS, multiple sclerosis. And she was wasting away. Now, granted, there was a lot of pain associated with that. I loved her. But I knew if she goes, there goes my pill supply. Now what? God sends holy angels. I was at a party. I was with a poetry collective. A spoken word poetry group. And we had famously fun parties and spontaneous poetry readings and interesting, recreational things. And this beautiful girl, she was smoking something, THC related, nothing crazy. And I don't know how we got to talking. And it came up about our periods. She said, no, you don't understand. This girl telling me my period's so bad, I will be face down on the bathroom floor with my cheek to the cold floor just to try to take my mind off of how bad the pain. Like we were having a dueling cramp off. And I knew she understood because the way she was described, she's like, yeah, up my upper thighs, my lower back, sometimes here, sometimes then the pain, the cramping and the seizing. It's just the heavy bleeding. It's 2 or 3 days of it. I'm like, oh my God, me too. It's so bad. And I don't know what to do. And my friend and the Vicodin and blah, blah. She says, oh, well, I don't suffer anymore. I said, well, what happened? You went on the pill? Oh, no. No. I got Lodine. You what now? Lodine. Yeah, I got Lodine. I'm like, what's Lodine? She says, it's not quite a pain pill, but it is, but it isn't. It's not an opiate. And I had to beg for it, but I read about it somewhere. And let me tell you, Lisa, it killed the cramps dead. Killed the cramps. I'm like, really? I knew I needed this Lodine. But I'm trying to piece together. You have to remember, I was tremendously obese, sickly, and broke. I was on charity care. I was probably not getting any kind of pelvic exam at that point. I think I asked whoever was seeing me. I think I went through the emergency room, but not emergency. It was some sort of charity care situation. I couldn't get the Lodine, but boy, was it on my mind. I'm like, I gotta find a way to get this Lodine. Well, a very unkind doctor who was treating me there and coming up with the weirdest solutions for my issues. Well, if you lost weight, you could liposuck some weight off. Like, dude, I'm almost 400 pounds. You're going to liposuck me to death, I think, because really? Well, I mean, how many weight loss surgeries have you had? I'm like, well, I still have the gastric band in. I've had all these. He says, well, you need to do something. You have to walk. Like, I could barely walk in the freaking place. I don't know if I had a handicap tag at that point. Who would have given me one? I don't remember. But it was rough. And walking was so painful. And he's like, well, you have to walk. I'm like, my knees hurt so bad. It was bone-on-bone arthritis. But nobody would talk about knee replacements or any kind of surgeries. I was a charity care patient, and I was severely obese. So, well, maybe we can give you something, for the arthritis, but you have to do something. I remember how disorganized, what a freaking mess my house was. My bedroom especially, because that was like, everything just got tossed in there. I didn't have the energy when I took off my clothes to fold them and put them away. You just toss them, the chair that you have Well, it's too dirty to hang up, but not dirty enough to wash. Well, I would just make mountains. I had Everest in there, several of. I had the whole Himalayas of piles of thrown clothes and things just dropped, and hoping I'd have the energy at one point to file them away. Oh my God, how do I live like that? Things are so orderly now. Let me get the order of this story right. I forgot her name. I hope I wrote it in a diary or something. I want to thank her. The party with the beautiful girl with the black hair who had the hashish. She said it was opium. And told me about the loading. It was the next day. Because I thought, God, please, you got to help me get this loading. It was the next day in my disarray of a bedroom. I was trying to pick up a few things from the floor and make some sense of my life, that I picked up the prescription that I had dropped that mean Dr. Schwartz had given me for the arthritis that I wasn't going to fill. They didn't have the money for it. It was loading. It was loading. I had a prescription in my hand for loading the day after some stranger at a party told me that it was going to fix my cramps forever. And it did. What a miracle drug. Granted, I would have to take 800 milligrams at a time, and the dosage is 400, but who cares? It's an anti-inflammatory. Look it up. Etolid, Etova, Etodolac, Lodine. Goes by a few names. Very hard to get a doctor to write that script. You have to beg. Fortunately, my orthopedist is an angel, and he gives it to me. Like, well, you got to be careful with this. It's rough on the gastrointestinal tract, but if you say it works, let's just not take too much. Now, I don't get periods anymore, but I now use it for arthritis pain. The original intention of it, all those years ago. Etodolac, Etovid, Etolid, Etova, Lodine. If you can get a doctor to prescribe it, it killed my cramps dead. Sorry, I probably am not supposed to recommend anything. I'm not recommending you do this. I'm just telling my story. I'm just telling you. When I say you should get it, I meant the proverbial you. I was talking about myself. Why did my mother let me suffer like that? Why did my mother let me suffer like that? Why? Well, with a narcissist, we're not real. We're not real people. We're just extensions of them. I think the why is revealed in, well, I had terrible periods every month. Shot of whiskey, hot water bottle. Excuse me. I paused it while I blew my nose. See how professional I am. Are narcissists simply sadists? When I was a little girl and I was sick, she took pretty good care of me. Strange care. Like insisting on using a rectal thermometer. It's bizarre. Like, I'm old enough to put it under my tongue. You use a rectal because it would be like for a baby. They can't hold it under their tongue. Why are you giving me in the ass? Why? You know how uncomfortable that is when you have a fever? Have a thermometer pushed into your ass? Maybe you do. But she made sure to get medicine for me from my pediatrician. If I needed antibiotics, she got it. She would dote, and she would give me ginger ale and baby aspirin. And if my fevers got too high, and I used to get really high fevers, like scary, she would wipe me down with cold water and alcohol washcloths to keep my fever down. I have a heart murmur from it. When you get super high fevers when you're super young. But she actually did her best. Except for the rectal thermometer. And, it's so, like, painful to get an alcohol and cold water wiped down when you have a fever. Oh, my God. And dry toast with tea. Those little moments of her being a good mother. But with the period cramps, it's like she was evening the score, I think, because she suffered and no one would help her. What could they do at that point? What did they have back then? I don't know. They didn't have the money. It's not like they could just go to the drugstore and get... They probably could have gone to the drugstore to get something. What did you need a prescription for? There was cocaine in the Coca-Cola. But they were so poor. And I think she reported that after she had my brother, things got a little better with her cramps. I don't remember her menstruating when I was young. I didn't find out about people getting their periods till I was 8 years old. She told me. I was devastated, by the way. So she would have already been 49. So she was in her menopause by that point. So I didn't recognize her suffering periods. She was finished with them by the time I knew what a period was. Flash forward to the present day. It's a special kind of pain that I'm in, having to take care of her with all this agony inside me of how she just let me suffer. These weren't just, I had some cramping, let me take some aspirin. You don't know. It's so bad. And I was just a kid. That's why I'm talking about the loading. If you're suffering, look into it. I know I'm not supposed to give advice, but don't suffer. You deserve peace. You don't deserve to suffer. I didn't deserve to suffer. I'm sorry. It was 7 years every month for 7 years of my life. Oh, the agony. And not knowing where to turn for help. Hot baths, cold baths, massages, belly massages, and this one little miracle pill. And now when I look at my Totalac bottle prescribed by a loving, caring physician for, knee pain, where have you been all my life? And that goes for our psychological pain as well. We don't deserve to suffer or to stay in this agony. We deserve peace. We deserve peace befitting our extraordinary and tireless efforts to make meaning in this life. To quote the great Francis Conroy as Shakath in Asylum, my favorite season of American Horror Story. Only for the Sister Jude redemption arc. Oops, was that a spoiler? Sorry. Can't redo the whole video. Yeah, The other violent stuff I didn't care for, but that, oh, what a beautiful story. Changed my life. Okay, I've cried enough, and now I can't breathe, so I'm going to see about taking an antihistamine or just taking a nap. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell.